fans, welcome to WLCN's today's Josh Comnick Cheap Seats Live. This Saturday morning sports show is brought to you by Jim Grimaldi, criminal defense attorney in Lincoln, Logan County's only law dedicated exclusively to the practice of criminal law. Phone number for Mr. Grimaldi would be 651-8089, or stop by his office located in Regions Bank Building in downtown Lincoln. If you're wondering, is this Josh Comnick? The answer is no. Justin Tierney here on the mic with my man Justin. Jake.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, Josh is out this week.
Yeah,
we understand he's having a little plastic surgery.
Yeah, a little Botox.
A little Botox, tummy tuck.
Getting a little lift and tuck.
Yep. Josh is such a diva, so
yeah,
he'll be back though next week, looking good for all of our listeners.
He does have a face that was made for radio.
That's correct. We are here in downtown Lincoln at Corey Leonard's Shelter Insurance, bringing you some sports talk today.
This is tough, man. Sitting down here with all this barbecue going on.
Yeah. You can still kind of smell a little bit, can't you?
It's already permeating through the air, man. This is nice.
I mean, you had some stuff to do in Lincoln last night, didn't you?
Yes.
I mean, you had the barbecue downtown.
The barbecue.
You got a balloon fest.
Which was awesome, right outside my back door.
Absolutely. You can't miss the balloon fest unless you're watching Lincoln Raider football.
Which is I also partaked in.
Yep, I sure did as well.
Unless you decided to go out there to the good old Lincoln Speedway.
Oh, yeah.
Big race out there
last night,
which I also got to partake in.
Jake is everywhere.
I am a man of the people.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Well, of course, the big story, I guess, this morning in Lincoln is the football season opener.
Yeah.
Railers had a little bit of a tough go last night against a very, very good Rochester team. Anybody who was expecting Rochester to really struggle was wrong. But you probably never should have expected that in the first place.
No, their backup quarterback, I think, played really well last night. But you know what? Lincoln had some bright points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Team, if you don't look at the score, but you look at the performance, they had a really nice first half, which, to be honest, right before halftime, they could have almost tied it.
I thought most of the things last night were pretty correctable.
Yeah.
A couple turnovers that were costly. A couple penalties here and there, and it's first game. I'm sure Coach Andy McDonald, who we think is going to join us this morning, will get right on that.
Well, I tell you, was it just me or did Rochester look? I mean, they didn't look really big.
No.
But they were really athletic and fast.
Oh, man, they were fast. Oh, my goodness, they were fast.
Their defensive line, we have a huge for you people that don't know Lincoln High School football yet this year, I'm hoping you're going to find out a little bit more. But our offensive line is monstrous.
Oh, yeah. They're huge.
Probably the biggest offensive line I've seen.
Absolutely. They're big. Those are some big boys. We got some big corn-fed boys on that line this year. And
I think that could be a big thing for Lincoln later in the year, especially with their running game. Their running game looked good last night.
Yeah, absolutely. I made the comment down there on the sidelines. Of course, Andy Cruz last night with a big game, over 100 yards on only 15 carries. Talking to the statisticians on the sideline, every carry Andy had was a positive yardage last night.
Yeah.
He did not get stopped for a loss. He did not get stopped for a no gain. Every single time Andy Cruz touched the ball, we picked up yards, and, of course, that's the name of the game. I made the comment last night, we were talking, who's he kind of remind you of? I went with the Jerome Bettis. I mean, he's big, he's got good footwork, and he makes no mistake. He's not dancing. No. He's not trying to make you miss.
He pushes the pile, and he'll, to be honest, it looked like once or twice he ran right at the safety. So, I mean, he was willing to run him over.
That touchdown run, you guys will see on the video, he just powered over that guy on the touchdown run. He just ran over a poor kid from Rochester.
That's exactly, and he did it about 3 times on that one drive. So.
Yeah, I think on the touchdown drive, it was an 81-yard touchdown drive, if I'm not mistaken, and I want to say Andy probably had a good 60, 65 of those yards, and a lot of them came on the left side of that line behind Big Sawyer Conradi, throwing people off the line.
Yep.
I mean, you've got two linemen over there, big, strong kids.
I believe both of them over 300 pounds.
Oh, yeah, and you figure those guys, you take out the first 3 defenders, and then you've got Andy one-on-one with maybe one guy, and by then you've got down 4 defenders. That's 5 yards. It should be.
The downfall for Lincoln, I believe, and we kind of touched on this before we started. If you have one knock on them, it's because they're going to get tired.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, with and that's just right now. In the next coming years, with the youth football really starting to get going here in Lincoln, our team's going to get bigger. We're going to have more players to choose from. We've got some guys, some offensive linemen playing both sides of the ball, which is, to be honest, it's going to wear them down.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's basically kind of what happened, especially with the speed that Rochester was showing last night. I'll be honest, I can't wait to go up against like a Jacksonville or somebody like that,
sure,
where you're going to be just putting our meat against them.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be some teams that are really going to struggle to stop our running game, I think. Assuming Andy stays healthy, he's got. We don't want him missing any time like he did last year. And some of the other guys, Zach Schlater had a couple good runs last night. Garrett Cooper, so you can just see the speed on that kid. We'll have some guys, Big Tank. Anthony Cannon didn't get any carries last night, I don't think, but you can just tell he's down there on the sidelines cheering them on. He's going to make some noise before the season's done as well. Next week we go up against a Canton. It's a team we defeated last year, excuse me. So as bad as it was last night for the kids, you hope that they use that and channel that kind of frustration.
Yeah, a little springboard maybe.
And give Canton one on the chin, next week, and just hope they can bring it on. Let's go with some other scores from around the Central State 8 last night. You look at Lanphier and Taylorville. Lanphier was a victor 26-21. Springfield put one on Southeast 44-3. And then, of course, the big rivalry in the Central State 8, Sacred Heart Griffin and Chatham Glenwood, always a classic game that gets a lot of hype, and deservedly so, in the Central State 8. SHG 34, Chatham Glenwood 27. And then Jacksonville with a 21-0 victory over Jerseyville. From my understanding of the Glenwood Griffin game was that SHG got up big, and then Chatham made a comeback but couldn't quite get over the hump.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I was talking to a couple people, and they were thinking that Sacred Heart actually may be having a down year this year. So I don't know what that means for Sacred Heart Griffin.
A down year could be like 7-2
or 7-2. Yeah, I mean, not making the playoffs. I don't see that happening.
No. You look at Chatham. Chatham has a quarterback who I really liked last year when I saw him. Miles McAdams, he's only a junior. I'm looking forward to seeing him this year. He's got a cannon of an arm, and they've also got a running back named Giovanelli, another one. I think they had a Giovanelli last year. Maybe it's the same kid, but they're going to be tough as well. So you look at Chatham and Griffin. Those are going to be maybe some tough sledding for the Railers, but I look at the scores from last night, and I see pretty evenly matched game, an evenly matched game with Lanphier and Taylorville. Taylorville, a team we beat last year. Southeast. I'm not, I guess, buying into the Springfield hype yet.
I was going to say, Springfield, they have a couple good athletes that could do some damage.
The story with Springfield last night was their new quarterback, Alex Kramer, had 4 touchdowns last night, threw for 4 touchdowns. So maybe it's just the same as last year. They had Tyrell Bolden last year. If you contain him, he's kind of a Michael Vick run-throw type. You contain him, and you're going to be in the game. Absolutely. I think we've got some sophomore football going on this morning, I believe, and then freshmen will be going on later this week. So hopefully the sophomores can kind of, avenge last night. Hopefully they're out there.
I actually talked to a few of them in the stands last night. They were pretty pumped.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
the one thing I saw last night, too, that I know about Rochester, which we talked about it, kind of touched on it briefly, is, they had some depth. Lincoln's got guys that are going both ways. Talked to somebody I know from Rochester, and Rochester had 110 kids out for football this year.
That looked about right.
Yeah, a large squad, not very big, but large.
Yeah.
Strength in numbers. And if you do the math on that, I think they've only got about 750, 800 kids in their school.
Yeah.
And you figure half of those are girls, you're assuming.
Well, you're assuming, yeah.
Cannot play football.
Well, you're hoping for the boys that,
Yeah. For the boys, you're hoping that. So then you got 400 boys in the school, and 110 of them are playing football.
Yeah.
So 1 out of every 4 boys in the school is playing football.
That's pretty good school.
That is definitely a place we can look for Lincoln. That's something honestly, we can hope for.
Driving by the youth football
out
there at
Eaton
Corporation, I don't know how many kids he has out there, but I'll be honest, it looks like over 200 kids.
Oh, yeah.
And if that's the case, I mean, you're talking not too many years away, and you're going to be talking about a similar situation happening here in Lincoln. That's what's going on for Rochester.
Absolutely. It's got to start at the bottom, and I know Andy McDonald's going to be committed to that. I know he's going to be committed to building that program. So
obviously a lot of people around town have committed to it as well.
Absolutely.
With them building a new, it looks like a concession stand.
Yeah, I just saw that out there.
Little building out there, which looks really nice.
Oh yeah, there's definitely the support.
Yeah, it's there.
It'll be coming. And I think Andy. The other thing about Andy is his primo job, and this isn't a knock against any other coach, but his primo job is Lincoln High School football.
Yeah,
he'll be here for the long haul, and he'll get this thing pumping. I cannot wait.
And I'll be honest, I do like the way he coaches. Like I said, I believe right now we may just be a couple players short.
Yep.
So maybe some of the guys don't have to swing back and forth. But boy, I like the transitions they were making. I liked a couple of the plays the defense was making. I mean, they made some really
I'll tell you
nice
what else
plays.
we looked good at last night. Special teams. Logan Armbruster returned the opening kickoff. Talk about a start to the season. Logan Armbruster breaks the opening kickoff down into Rochester territory. I thought he looked good last night. He made a couple great catches. He only had, I think, 2 catches, but one of them was just from the sidelines was just ridiculous. He's sticking. He kind of looks like, I was thinking last night, he kind of reminds me of Sunshine from Remember the Titans. He's got this long hair, and he doesn't look like in the face. He's got kind of that baby face. Doesn't really look like he'd be a football player, but he looked real good last night. Him and Andy Cruz both. James Leisinger did his thing, leading the offense. Had a couple good drives. How about our quarterback out there playing linebacker?
Yeah.
Is there any other?
This goes to my point, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Is there any other quarterback in the conference? I mean, that probably plays linebacker. You want to talk about your pretty boy quarterbacks? James Leisinger is not one of your pretty boy. Sorry, James, you're a good-looking guy, but he is a tough kid. Oh, man.
May have been on that drive where they actually got the touchdown. He got hit pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking, he might not be able to play a couple downs. Boy, he was right there.
Oh yeah.
Up and slapping guys in the helmet. He was ready to go.
You have to drag. We got a few guys that I just love are just pure football players. Andy Cruz is asking back in the game. He has his 81-yard touchdown drive that he's the main guy on.
Yep.
And coaches are saying, hey, take one.
Take a breather.
No, he wants out there.
That's exactly right.
That's the toughness that
keep them on the field when you can.
Gotta have.
You gotta love their enthusiasm for that too, man.
Absolutely. Well, we will go ahead and I think. Can we take it to a break, Jim? Yeah, we're going to send it to break. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are here on the Josh Comnick, without Josh Comnick, Cheap Seats. Sponsored by Mr. Jim Grimaldi, criminal defense attorney, located downtown Lincoln at the Regents Building. We are coming to you this morning from Corey Leonard's Shelter Insurance on the Square. Still got some people cleaning up from the barbecue last night. If you missed it, hopefully you were doing something else positive, spending a little of your cash in Lincoln.
And they're getting it ready for today here, man.
Oh, really? They're going back today.
Oh, nice. Yeah. They're getting it all ready, getting ready to smoke.
Oh,
I'm hoping to have samples within 30 minutes, gentlemen.
Gotcha.
Let's see if we can make that happen.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's get to some of our sponsors today. Jake's Furnishings. Jake's Furnishings, located at 1100. Excuse me. Numbers are not my strength. Woodlawn Road in Lincoln. Open 7 days a week. Phone number for Jake's 735-1212, or go online to jakesfurnishings.com. Jim Grimaldi, attorney at law, 217-651-8089 for Mr. Grimaldi. The Christian Village, the area's leader for senior living and healthcare services, 732-2189 for a tour. The new Lincoln Speedway, located at the Logan County Fairgrounds, 217-735-1833 for a schedule and race times. St. Clara's Manor, their team's dedication is what makes them special. Edward Jones, financial advisor Bob Neal, call 735-2585 or stop by the office located at 218 South Kickapoo Street in downtown Lincoln. Global Tech Training, begin a new career in HVAC, plumbing, building automation. Classes are forming now, 217-650-7652, or stop by 203 South Logan Street in Lincoln. And finally, Schneider Chiropractic, located at the former Perry Center at 523 North Elm in Lincoln. Dr. Alicia Schneider can be reached at 732-2140 to schedule your appointment, where your schedule is the doctor's schedule. So, it's definitely football season. You can feel it in the air.
You can feel it in the air.
Absolutely. It's just starting to go from the dog days.
Hot to still pretty warm.
Yeah, still pretty warm.
Yeah.
Lots of football news this week, both in college football and the NFL.
Yeah.
Probably, I thought the biggest story this week, or at least according to ESPN, was a lot of these college football scandals, Jake. You've got Miami doing all kinds of wrong things down there.
Just shy of murder, I believe.
In South Beach, all kinds of problems going down there. There's rumors of the death penalty and all kinds of nasty things going on down there. LSU, they got players in bar fights, and one of them just happens to be the starting quarterback.
That's
they got the fourth team, and they're ranked number 4, and they've got Oregon next week. That's the last thing you need when you're going up against Oregon and the Ducks.
The Ducks, who had a great year last year, and boy, they're going to put on a show down there too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then even still some Ohio State Buckeye news this week, as Terrell Pryor is drafted by the Oakland Raiders. And
boy, does that surprise anybody?
No.
I mean, honestly.
He's a bad boy Raider. So Terrell Pryor missing the first 5 games of the NFL season, which I had kind of mixed feelings about. I guess it's probably a good thing.
Maybe. I kind of like Roger Goodell's angle on this. He's saying if he was going to miss games in the college, he's going to miss them here too. So, I don't know if one should overlap the other, but at the same time, this our commissioner there, he knows how to lay down the law.
He doesn't mess around.
No, not at all.
He doesn't mess around. I mean, who really feels sorry for Terrell Pryor? At least not knowing. You know what I mean? I mean, he did things wrong, and
not only that, but it's like, he basically blatantly came out and said, "Hey, I did this, and I don't care about Ohio State." Which is where he's going to school at.
The other thing that was kind of interesting is he said, "I'm not going to appeal." You would think he would have a lot of grounds for an appeal. Not that I'm that familiar with the NFL rule book, but
he's not going to get paid while he's suspended.
No, that's
the difference between NFL and Major League Baseball.
The other thing with Mr. Terrell Pryor is he going to be a quarterback? I mean, is there any way he can play quarterback in the NFL?
The Raiders are saying that he will be, but I don't.
Didn't they say the same thing about Jamarcus Russell though?
And
every other quarterback since Rich Gannon.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really. I mean, maybe you know what? That's a good point. Maybe he can play quarterback for the Raiders. That's not exactly playing.
I guess him running with McFadden. The problem with a running quarterback, and even Tim Tebow's came to see this, that the linebackers hit really hard.
Oh yeah.
And they're really fast.
Yeah.
They make cornerbacks in NCAA look slow.
Oh yeah,
and they're a lot bigger. So that's the big difference, man. Is the speed of the game and how big and strong these guys really are.
Yeah, and you look at the Raiders. It seems like Al Davis every year is just trying to find the best athletes.
Yeah.
In football. I mean,
and not caring about what his team needs.
I think he drafted a guy named Darius Hayward-Bay. I want to say who had they said the other day I saw somebody reported that they have drafted the fastest guy in the NFL Combine like the last 4 years.
Huh?
But my thing is the NFL is so different now with schemes.
That's exactly right.
And rule changes, and you've got so many things going on.
Hey, the thing is, you can go from a team that won 3 or 4 games to winning 10 to 12 games the following year, just with a couple personnel moves.
Oh, yeah.
And, whatever reason, Oakland hasn't picked up on it. I mean, it could be ownership, could be a lot of different things, but they haven't picked up on the nuances that's going to get them into the playoffs again. And it's really been kind of sad to see how many guys, different head coaches they've had in the last 5 years.
A little bit more on Miami, the old Hurricanes. I talked to somebody last night saying, doesn't that kind of stink? I mean, for the kids that are there now, that's probably the worst thing about this whole situation is they're going to get punished for
the Devin Hester era.
The Devin Hesters and the Andre Johnsons and some of the guys that were there in the past.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think, I guess, would be an appropriate punishment kind of in that context?
It's so tough.
These kids may not have done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to punish somebody. Somebody's got to pay for that.
That's where if they could let the kids just go to transfer to another school.
Yeah, without having to sit out
a year. But then again, once you start a precedence like that,
exactly.
I mean, who's to stop a kid that just wants to transfer because their roommate's mean or something,
Where is the administration at the University of Miami? You know what I mean? It's just
That's exactly right. Because the thing about NCAA football is it's a huge cash cow.
Oh, yeah.
And to be honest, that's what it comes down to. The hierarchs in NCAA do not really care about the program
until they
care about the dollars.
See,
until they're embarrassed.
Until they get embarrassed. You know, then they're
then they're caught.
Then they're going to come down so hard. But, you know, this whole time you're going on, you cannot tell me that there's a whole compliance department at the University of Miami. These big major universities have these compliance departments. You cannot tell me that somebody doesn't know what's going on down there. To at least the extent that it appears reported in the Yahoo Sports story, you cannot tell me this is just a shocker to everybody down there.
Absolutely. Well, and the same thing with Pryor there at Ohio State. I mean, it's the exact same scenario. They know what's going on. They just want to make sure nobody else does. And then when someone comes,
I think they're complicit
gets caught of it.
Those guys got to go. I think if you're the compliance department or even higher up, the athletic director, chancellors and things like that won't be athletics have caused chancellors and presidents.
And I'm not sure how many millions do they get for a bowl game.
Oh, something ridiculous.
I mean, the teams that aren't in it but in the same conference, don't they get like
the Big East will rake money off of them.
Well, the Big Ten from Ohio State. I mean, they got a big chunk of money. I know that. Illinois and all, which looks like we have a guest coming on.
We do have a guest here. Mr. Andy McDonald is here.
Meeting with the peeps.
He's getting prepped for his interview. We'll be sure to bring Andy on here in a minute.
That's my point is the colleges know the amount of money coming in, and they're not going to try to do anything to ruffle any feathers until they have to.
Oh, yeah.
Once they know that these Yahoo reports are coming out or whatnot, they try to start being proactive, and they pipe up to the NCAA, hey, this happened. We're going to go ahead and suspend some players and whatnot, and maybe hope to get them so they're not in as deep a water.
You know, in the Miami situation, you look at what happened at LSU, and it's a bar fight. Not to excuse a bar fight.
Yep.
But I am a little more sympathetic to an LSU where you got a couple kids out late on Saturday night making a bad decision, as opposed to complicit.
They have to understand though too when you're top dogs such as
you got to
LSU,
be smarter. Yeah.
If you go to a bar or any scenario like that,
you're a target.
You're a target. Just because, some people think you're better than they are.
Yeah.
Just for the thought that you're a football player.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's the issue. That's the main issue.
What really stings for LSU, I guess, is the fact that they are a national title contender.
Yes.
They are, and then they've got a great coach in Les Miles, a guy who I love, Les Miles. I love watching them on CBS. You've got Les Miles out there running trick plays and running all kinds of goofy stuff. So I was really pulling for LSU this year, and it looks like going to have a tough start. I guess, though, the backup quarterback, forget his name, for LSU, I think beat Florida last year.
Yes.
Beat Florida and when he was a starter. So, maybe there's not too much of a drop-off there, and LSU can recover.
It's still going to be tough. I mean, they're going to have a few players suspended.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a tough go for him this year as a champion.
He's got to be thinking, all right, I'm never scheduling another top 5 team ever again.
Ever,
in week 1.
Especially at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to be regretting that decision. Coach Les Miles does. So I think we've got the cheerleading coach, LCHS cheerleading coach Allie Robinson back here waving at me, and we've got Coach Andy McDonald here. We will go to break, get Andy set up, and talk to him about last night's game.